The FIA has been the center of controversy over the past year, with its president Mohammed Ben Sulayem taking tyrannical control of the organization, which controls most of global motorsport. However, Ben Sulayem is far from the only problem the FIA have had over the past year, with the stewarding of Formula One becoming a huge topic for discussion, with fans and drivers demanding better. One steward in particular brought attention to himself with his dual role of steward and pundit, often making his decisions look biased. In particular, his vocal dislike of Max Verstappen made the decisions he made look suspect, such as the one which saw the world champion serve community service in Rwanda for swearing in a press conference. Now though, that dual role has cost him. Today I'll check out what has happened to Johnny Herbert and what the sport could do to improve stewarding, so don't go anywhere. Johnny Herbert has been fired from his role as a Formula One steward after the FIA said his Grand Prix work was incompatible with his job as a media pundit. Herbert attracted criticism from Max Verstappen's camp last season for his comments about the Red Bull driver's performance at the Mexican Grand Prix. Verstappen picked up a 20-second penalty for forcing McLaren rival Lando Norris off the track twice during the race, and Herbert claimed the driving had been harsh and over the top, and he felt the Dutchman had a horrible mindset. It led to Verstappen describing the remarks as abnormal, while his father Jos made a thinly veiled comment about some stewards not liking his son and having more sympathy for certain drivers. Herbert used a column for a betting website to defend his opinions and said, "I am Johnny Herbert, the steward and the professional during a race weekend, and Johnny Herbert, a pundit at other times, who expresses what he thinks." He insisted that when I am a steward, I do not express any opinions, and in an attempted defense, said that Verstappen's title rival Lando Norris and his boss Zak Brown agreed with his opinions on Max. The piece that was written for a gambling website called Verstappen's driving over the top and said the way he drove against Norris in Mexico frustrates me massively, and that the Dutchman had got into this horrible mindset of trying to gain an advantage by taking a fellow driver off the racetrack. FIA stewards who work on Formula One are all volunteers who receive an allowance for their expenses, but otherwise earn nothing for their time or expertise. Obviously, they need other income sources, but the fact that Herbert was working as an FIA pundit and journalist while also holding such an important role in the officiating of the sport became a problem. On Wednesday, the FIA said, "It is with regret that we announce today that Johnny Herbert will no longer fulfill the position of F1 driver steward for the FIA. Johnny is widely respected and brought in valuable experience and expertise to his role. However, after discussion, it was mutually agreed that his duties as an FIA steward and that of a media pundit were incompatible. We thank him for his services and wish him well in his future endeavors." It will have come as a surprise to Johnny that he lost his job. Comments made by Herbert in another interview published by a gambling website in January this year were widely interpreted to mean he would work as a steward again in 2025. The three-time race winner from 160 starts, who competed for an array of F1 teams in the 80s and 90s and won the Le Mans 24-hour, had been scheduled to officiate at the season-opening Australian Grand Prix on the 16th of March. Herbert, who issued a controversial penalty to Aston Martin driver Fernando Alonso at last year's Australian Grand Prix for an incident which saw George Russell crash his own car with absolutely no influence from Alonso, spoke of his excitement for the opening race of the season to a casino gambling site. "There are still going to be incidents in Australia. There are still going to be complaints from teams and drivers, and we're going to have to deal with that as normal." His removal as a steward will obviously have come as a surprise considering his comments about the Australian Grand Prix. Nonetheless, Herbert shared his gratitude when responding to the recent developments on Instagram. He also took the opportunity to try and plead his case as an unbiased steward once again. "I'm very grateful for the opportunity of being an FIA driver steward, and I have thoroughly enjoyed the role I've been involved in over the years. It is a difficult job and there are tough decisions that have to be made," Herbert wrote. "As stewards, we have and will continue to treat both drivers and team personnel with the utmost respect and remain impartial at all times during all F1 Grand Prix weekends. Finally, I'm very grateful to the President and everyone at the FIA for the opportunities I've been given." Herbert is the second experienced steward to be sacked by the FIA in just over 2 months. American Tim Mayer was dismissed before last year's Sao Paulo Grand Prix. He said the decision was made by FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem because the Emirati took offense at the contents of an appeal document filed by the Circuit of the Americas, the host of the US Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, with which mayor was involved. With 2 experienced stewards gone in the lead up to the 2025 season, questions over the stewarding system of Formula One will intensify. Why? In motorsport's largest series, a series that generates hundreds of millions of dollars a year, do the people responsible for officiating the series still go unpaid? It is a problem that needs some addressing, but before I talk about it, if you're enjoying the video and want to catch all the news in the lead up to the 2025 season, then please press the like button and subscribe to F1 Reverse. After 3 years of bringing you daily news on Formula One, we're closing in on 100,000 subscribers, so thank you very much to everyone who's been a part of that. Being an F1 steward is not an easy job. It's simple for us to sit on the sofa on a Sunday afternoon and shout at the TV when someone receives a penalty we don't think they should have, or when someone dodges what we think should be a clear penalty. But actually doing that job well and consistently is incredibly difficult. That is true across all sports though. I don't follow American football at all. I like watching highlights of people getting smacked, but I've never sat through a game. But even I know that there's been some controversy recently about how unnecessary roughness is officiated, whatever that means. The Premier League has huge officiating problems, with fans and pundits constantly talking about decisions made in games and whether they're right or wrong. Arsenal fans, for example, are completely convinced that there is an officiating conspiracy against them, and some refereeing cabal is acting to stop them ever winning the Premier League. It's a load of rubbish, of course, but it's easy to see why they've all made tinfoil hats for themselves. Officiating any sport is a massive challenge, but at least in every other major sport, officials are paid to be as good at their job as possible. The fact that F1 stewards are unpaid volunteers and are only offered travel expenses to preside over races is absolutely mental. After a weekend of incredible scrutiny and pressure and unpaid work, the last thing that a volunteer wants to do is give up more of their free time to analyze every decision they made over the weekend to work out if it was the right one or not. They don't want to constantly be told how wrong they are, and they certainly don't want to receive death threats over social media for the decisions they make. Considering the stewards are unpaid volunteers, they do an incredible job officiating Formula One and should be applauded for offering their time to make Formula One happen. Without them, there would be no racing. However, improvements need to happen, and the only way to do that is to have full-time paid officials who can preside over race weekends and then spend time after races analyzing the decisions made and improving upon them for the next weekend. This is a viewpoint shared by many in the sport. FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem is open to having permanent stewards, but has raised the question as to who should pay for them, saying late in 2024 that they, talking about the drivers, don't want to pay for it. But of course, drivers certainly shouldn't be the ones paying for it. In what other sport do the players pay the wages of the officials? The wages for the officials should come from the body that employs them and manages the regulations of the sport, which is the FIA. McLaren Racing CEO Zak Brown recently shared his thoughts, saying that it should fall upon the teams, along with the FIA and F1, to contribute, adding that he felt it important to have a professional body of stewards. "The biggest thing we need to do is approach the stewarding system," said Brown. "To have part-time, unpaid stewards in a multi-billion-dollar sport where everything is on the line to make the right call, it's a technical job, and when you get it right, no one says great job. But I don't think we're set up for success by not having full-time stewards. The individuals are fine, but the rulebook is too restrictive. I'd like us to take a step back, loosen it up, have full-time stewards who can make more of a subjective decision of whether that was right or wrong. As with all sports, the rules can rarely be applied in a black and white manner. Of course, a car is either out of track limits or within it, that's easy. But trying to judge if a driver was too aggressive in a move, or if they went for a gap that wasn't there, is subjective, and therefore difficult to make. Experience and training is needed to make a subjective judgment like that. If stewards were full-time employees, it would be much easier to have the same stewards at every race and allow them the time between races to train. What do you think of Herbert's sacking? And do you think that the FIA needs to address stewarding as a matter of urgency? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.